Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, featuring the voices of Chris Saunders, Dakota Fanning, Tia Carrere, David Ogden Stiers, Kevin McDonald, Kuniwa Mook, and Jason Scott Lee, directed by Michael Labash and Tony Leondis. Now, before I get into this movie, I've never seen it, so let's just get straight into it. Stitch, returning voice of Chris Saunders, flies his alien spaceship up to the islands of Hawaii as he crashes the house of Lilo, voiced by Dakota Fanning, as it was all a dream, which is something I typically hate in the movies, while Stitch wakes up and is afraid of acting bad again. And Lilo pretends to hurt herself while Stitch catches her and other things as Stitch has a glitch, while Nani calls Lilo to go to hula class and with Stitch and fly the spaceship as Nani, returning voice of Tia Carrere, tries to hide it, but they easily found it and ride it to hula class as well as the ocean. And as usual, Lilo is late for class, and her classmates, led by the class bully Myrtle, picks on her and act as annoying as last time. And they create a hula dance as Lilo learns her mother was a hula dancer contest winner a long time ago. And after class, Myrtle bullies Lilo by taunting her and Lilo beats up on Myrtle while Stitch takes photos of it. And this is as badly acted as last time, while the characters are not as original as in the first movie. Pleakley, returning voice of Kevin McDonald, and Jumba, returning voice of David Ogden Stiers, dress and talk rather awkwardly while the teacher tells Nani about Lilo's incident at the hula class, and the teacher talks with Lilo about how she might not be ready for hula dancing. And Lilo says she's not prepared for the hula dancing, after she says she was, as Stitch cheers her up, and Lilo talks her into preparing a hula dancing as Nani says it's family fun time, as Nani forces everyone to join them and watch an old monster movie, science fiction movie, I'll say, and have all the fun watching the movie while Lilo is hula-less. And David, returning voice of Jason Scott Lee, is here as Pleakley tries to improve his relationship with Nani, as Stitch has some kind of glitch and acts all funny like a monster. And Jumma realizes Stitch has a recharge issue, and the animation in this is not great, and we get flashback to when Stitch was created and gets taken away by the authorities in space, and that's when the first Lilo and Stitch starts. And I didn't need that flashback of how Stitch became what he is, as that was preposterous. Jumba is afraid of Stitch shutting down for good, while Stitch hides under the bed until Lilo joins him and tells the story of a boy eating a bologna, as his name is Elvis Presley. And there's no need to bring up Elvis Presley, as that gets old really fast. And as they're playing rubbernecking, playing in the background while montaging how to make up a hula song by a laundromat to a barber shop to a donut shop, amongst other things. And I don't want any more songs by Elvis Presley in these movies, as the first movie was good enough. There's no need to put it on anymore while a chicken takes their mop and it starts to rain and tears it, and it's all torn up, as Stitch cries about it as they hear a song about friendship, which is probably the most original thing about the movie, while Jumba figures out how to recharge Stitch and act all awkward about it, as acting in this can sometimes be awkward for sure. David and Pleakley disguised as a woman spy on Nani while at work, and Pleakley is acting rather creepy about it, how to make the situation better, and I don't really care for the characters as much as in the 2002 movie, as this is a lazy way to make money on a video sequel, as Nani eventually walks to David and Pleakley disguised as a woman, and what a painful scene, as some of this can be painful to watch. Meanwhile, Lilo and Stitch learn a hula dance a day and night about her parents meeting each other for the first time, and next day comes as Lilo and Stitch rehearse the hula dance until Stitch has some kind of glitch and endangers the teacher as well as the other girls until he gets back to normal, while the teacher says Lilo will never hula dance in this industry ever again, while Lilo doesn't know what to do with Stitch, as Stitch tries to improve himself by being a good version of himself. And I guess that's cute, as this movie is sometimes cute while it's perfectly harmless for kids. And we move on to Lilo and Stitch fighting with arguments until Nani gets involved, and David and Pleakley arrives at David's as David is dressed rather casually, and Stitch tries to apologize to Lilo and says he's good until he puts on the mask and has another glitch and doesn't know what happened. And Lilo says Stitch will always be bad. And again, this is harmless while it's a family film cliche. Jumba and Pleakley try to create a cure for Stitch's glitch, while Lilo and Nani hang out together and sees the sky, and Lilo wants to win the contest because of her mother, and Nani says their mother would be proud of Lilo just as is, while Stitch gives up as the next day comes, and Lilo trains for the hula dance as she wants to perform on her own like the other girls, as she dresses like her mother back when she was a little girl. And Nani, Stitch, and David happen to be there to support Lilo. And Jumba and Pleakley finish the charging of Stitch's battery as we get the hula dancers, and Myrtle does her dance, and Lilo comes on, and Stitch tells her she'll be great, and tells her he's too dangerous to be around him. And Lilo does her hula dance and stops because she's concerned for Stitch. And Lilo, Nani, David, and Jumba and Pleakley look for Stitch until he decides to run away, and I felt so heartbroken for Stitch. Pleakley picks up Nani's car as Jumba calls Stitch and has Lilo talk with him as Stitch crash lands, and Lilo goes after Stitch in a spaceship-looking vehicle. And Lilo puts Stitch in Jumba's machine to charge as he rests, and Stitch briefly dies. And Lilo feels upset and says how sorry she is, and she wasn't there for him when he needed her the most. And she says he's Ohana, and I thought, oh, come on, he's not dead. Because there's one more movie before I get to the live-action movie, as Stitch comes alive and realizes he's alive, and Lilo finishes her hula dance with Stitch and her Ohana, and this climax was rather absolutely predictable. And this is harmless for kids, but not as much as for adults. But how much? Let's talk about it in a rating. I'll give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. Like the last time, this is just as badly acted, while the characters are not as original as the first time. And the animation is not great in this movie, as well as I didn't need the flashback of how Stitch became what he was, as that was preposterous. And there's no need to put any more Elvis Presley songs on this movie and things about Elvis himself, as it gets old real fast. After this movie, the first movie, but there's one song about friendship that feels original about the movie, which works, and that's about it. The acting in this is awkward at times for sure, and this is clumsily told, and like last time, I don't really care for these characters, as this is lazy writing to make a video sequel to the original 2002 movie, while some of this can be painful to watch for adults, but it's harmless for kids, as it feels like a family film cliche, and this isn't that bad for the kids, but the adults wouldn't enjoy this movie as much, and I didn't care for this movie, but I did feel heartbroken for Stitch, and that was sort of effective. The climax was absolutely predictable, and it's perfectly harmless for kids, but not as much for adults, like I said. But I can't believe there's one more movie to watch before the live-action remake, and again, this is a mild non-recommendation for this movie, as there's no point in watching these video sequels thus far. And again, enough with the songs by Elvis Presley, as it gets old real fast after that original movie from 2002. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time we'll be back with Leroy and Stitch. And until then... I can't do that justice. There's just no way.